Welcome to another edition of the EmpowerLA podcast, the podcast where we discuss all things neighborhood council with the people who live, work, and play in the city of LA. This is your host, Brett Shears from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Our guest today is Claire Bartels, Director of the Office of Finance. Bartels is a veteran of City Hall, having spent 3 decades working for various city departments and elected officials. In our conversation, Claire talks about the financial state of our city.
Business is booming. You know, LA is a leader in many industries, from aerospace to entertainment.
What the Office of Finance is doing to create productive partnerships with neighborhood councils and other city entities.
And so I think the neighborhood councils are an incredible partner in all things related to the city.
And how they are handling the brave new world of legal recreational cannabis.
It's a whole new world and remains to be seen how quickly it expands.
Hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us at the EmpowerLA podcast. Tell us who you are and your position.
Thank you. Well, I'm Claire Bartels, and I'm the Director of Finance for the Office of Finance.
Thanks so much for being here, Claire. Before we dive into a little about what we want to talk about today, tell me a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got to this position in your career.
Thank you, Brett. I would love that opportunity. I would describe myself first and foremost as an Angelino and a public servant. And I'll tell you why. While I have roots in another big city, I was born in London, England.
Oh, wow.
I have lived all of my adult life in Los Angeles. I'm a graduate of UCLA, a proud graduate of UCLA. And as a public servant, I have spent my entire career in the city of Los Angeles.
Jeez.
Indeed. Now, some people would think, oh, one job, the entire 30 plus years, that must have been dull. But I can assure you, every single position I've held, every department, every office I've worked in has been not only exciting, but I feel impactful. I've been able to make a difference everywhere I've been. And just to put it in context, and thank you for giving me this opportunity, because it has caused me to reflect a little on how did I get here and where did I come from?
That's what we're all about, just sentimentality and just getting the emotion in there. I told you this is going to be an emotional connection right here.
I feel it. First piece of career advice I ever had that I can recall has really stuck with me throughout the years and has led me to where I am today. And that was to work somewhere that I can make an impact, to make a difference. It came about in the 80s, dare I say. You guys probably don't remember the 80s. But in the 80s, hiring was strong. There was lots of job opportunities and
bullish
market.
There, yeah.
And fresh out of college, I admittedly had lots of job opportunities, lots of job offers directly. Yeah. In fact, one department made me 6 offers. The department was large, and there was lots of opportunities or offers. Yeah. So one of the interviewers, they interviewed en masse, left me her card afterwards and said if you had any questions. And I really had no idea what I was getting into by even entertaining a job at the city of LA. I didn't have family that worked there. I just went on a job interview. And so I reached out to her, and she said, do you have any advice from my interview and what you see on my resume, knowing what you know about your department, where I belong? And she said, I recommend this division, a certain division, because I believe they need you the most. You can make an impact there. So from there, I spent actually 12 years I accepted the position. One thing led to another. Doors opened, and each position was more exciting than the next. The first 12 years of my career, I spent really learning the operations of in-city departments.
Yeah, real nuts and bolts stuff.
Real nuts and bolts. And key to everything is understanding how to get things done.
Yeah.
I was the new kid on the block that was willing to do things for the first time. It was kind of before innovation was trendy or a buzzword, but
yeah, it is a buzzword,
cool,
but you were innovative. So it's good.
And then 12 years later, I had a new opportunity to cross over to the other side of working for elected officials.
Oh, okay. That's what you mean by that.
I worked for several elected officials where the name of the game there was learning. Now I knew how things worked in the city. I had the opportunity to engage with the community in a variety of levels. When I worked for Mayor Reardon, I had the opportunity to start a program that was sort of a precursor to neighborhood councils, known as the Targeted Neighborhood Initiative.
Right.
Thank you for not calling it teeny, because that was a bad acronym.
Even TNI doesn't sound that great, to be honest. It's too close to other stuff. But anyway.
So I had fun there, had fun building buildings, first of its kind all over the place. But with the working for electeds, incredible role models that they were. And then 9 years ago, still working for elected, I had another amazing opportunity to go over as Controller Gruel's chief deputy controller.
Right.
So there it was a real blend of running an operation of one of the biggest, most important, one of the most big and most important financial departments in the city, and also serving an elected official. So it was a great blend of the two.
Yeah, that seems to be like a really encompassing experience of your past experience. So,
and when Controller Galprin was elected controller, and he bestowed the honor, and quite unusual, to get the opportunity to stay on in a different administration.
Yeah, that
but
is
I
unusual.
served as his chief deputy for 2 years. And mind you, of course, I'm sure you know better than anyone that Controller Galprin was the first citywide elected official to come from our neighborhood councils.
So you know a little bit about that then, just at least by way of that
Just a hint.
experience. Yeah.
Just a hint.
Well,
So it's been great. And I'd like to think that I believe that I've made an impact, and I'm going to do great things at finance as well. I've been there 2 years so far, and I'm certain that when Mayor Garcetti made that appointment for me, appointed me 2 years ago, that he believed and trusted that I could make an impact there.
yeah, you bring a wealth of experience, especially in that field. So it's clear that I think you made a good decision. So you're there.
Well, thank you.
2 years. For the people out there who don't really know, though, what does the Office of Finance do? What is your responsibilities in the city?
Excellent question. I think if my title were as it is in the county, treasurer and tax collector, people would have a clue. Indeed, that is those are the two hats that I wear. I am the city treasurer, responsible for being the custodian of all city monies, as well as all securities that we invest in. We actively manage a $10 billion portfolio of city funds. So we're there to protect the city money.
But just to clarify for the people, you're not out there making the investment decisions yourself. You're not saying, let's go all in on Coca-Cola or something.
Fortunately, I have an expert team of professionals that are doing that on a daily basis. Yes, we have an in-house active management. We trade securities on a daily basis. A lot of other cities contract that out, but we have an impressive track record and, in fact, rank among the highest in the state of California for outcomes.
Wow, excellent.
All while abiding by California state law, which is safety first, liquidity second, and then yield. But yes, we perform very well.
And the other function of the office, I should say.
The other significant function of the department is the revenues. We manage the revenues for the city. So to the tune of, we take in $3 billion a year. Wow. Roughly, give or take a million, which is primarily taxes, licenses, fees, and permits, not collected by any other city department. So the focus there is on the business community.
So the mission statement of the Office of Finance says the mission is to ensure the healthy fiscal environment in the city of LA. How would you characterize the fiscal state of the city?
Well, broadly speaking, we're big. You know that. City of Los Angeles is purported to be the third largest metropolitan economy in the world. So clearly we're big. But from finance perspective, what we mean by healthy fiscal state is the more along the lines of my fiduciary responsibility and what we do to protect the monies of the city. The revenues are really our in-house barometer of how we're doing, and business is booming. You know, LA is a leader in many industries, from aerospace to entertainment, and the revenues that we bring in, it's twofold. We bring the money in so that we can return the funds to the residents and the businesses of Los Angeles.
Right, and that's what it's ultimately about.
It's all about. We like to say all roads lead to finance, not just because we're self-centered and egotistical, but
you have your hands in all the pots in some ways, right?
We truly do.
Yeah. So we're here at the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. This is the neighborhood councils that we're dealing with. From a personal perspective or from the department's perspective, what's your perception of neighborhood council system? As you mentioned, you have some experience with a targeted neighborhood initiative. What do you think about this whole system?
Well, as you can gather, I have seen its entire evolution. As I mentioned originally, I am an Angelino. I have a stake in the community I live in and the city as a whole. And so I think the neighborhood councils are an incredible partner in all things related to the city.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution that I described, a number of the people I worked with in the informal structure of targeted neighborhoods went on to become some of the first
Right.
neighborhood council leaders and participants. Because why? Neighborhood council members are people who want to make an impact in their community. They want to partner with the city. That's, I believe, what they were empowered to do. So I've seen them come a long, long way. From informal to, I remember the review period that the charter requires, and the reevaluation and the strengthening that has come from, I believe, the additional power and the additional respect and the growing authority of neighborhood councils. Now, with the Office of Finance, I consider them one of our partners, the entire department, and also the individual neighborhood councils. We provide services to all departments, but we've worked closely very recently, in fact, to make the payment system for neighborhood councils easier.
And we need it. We need it. We at the department now, we've shifted that responsibility over to city clerk, but there's so many questions about that all the time. We're going to bring on someone from the city clerk eventually to kind of talk more about that, but we're glad you've been able to.
And we didn't do
assist
it
in that.
single-handedly.
No.
And I think that is a point I wanted to make. It's not about just one department doing anything, even for another department. We take our role as leaders in municipal and treasury services as one that facilitates successful outcomes. So when we want our customers to come to us with their problems, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it was payment and banking related. So it fell to finance to come up with a solution. But we work with your department, with the city clerk, to establish a program that did work, that was cost effective, that actually was not only flexible and useful, it was a commercial card program. So 96 checking accounts and corresponding cards could be managed without burdensome costs and make it as easy as possible. So I say that, I may not have emphasized that earlier in your question, but everything we do in finance, we conceive of as a partnership, something to be built upon. And when it comes to the connection, this question about neighborhood councils, it's like us, it's an evolution. So growing that partnership, growing that which we have to offer is what our focus is.
Oh, that's great. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention there is, in the city charter, there's only really a couple mandates for the neighborhood council system. They give a lot of leeway, but it's to increase responsiveness and connect the neighborhoods to the government. But they also have this provision about commenting on the city budget, and the entity that has kind of been tasked with that and put together is the budget advocates. Does the Office of Finance have any role in helping facilitate that process, neighborhood councils, that they can maybe help either have a better understanding of how the budget works or really have some influence on how this process can work? Maybe not so much the legislative aspect, but just really the understanding of how everything plays out.
Well, selfishly, I appreciate what the budget advocates have done for us in finance. We enjoy meeting with them annually, and I think we might benefit actually from meeting earlier in the year. And really, they are there to listen and truly be advocates for us.
Right.
So as we've sat down with them and explained our approach to what we're going to be asking for in the budget, they understand quickly. They have always embraced what we're seeking is to enhance our own return on investment. So they go to bat for us.
Mm-hmm.
They have always been there. Well, the 3 cycles that I have been in finance, they have clearly said, we understand if you make your operation more efficient, if you are allowed to invest in modernizing your systems, if you are able to try new technology and reorganize your department to be more effective, then it's a win-win for the
Right.
city, for the
Right.
residents, and for the businesses. So they get that, they got that, they backed us, and I would consider them great partners.
Yeah, I think they do a great job. I was a budget advocate for 2 years, didn't overlap with your term, but I think it's so great that you all have been so responsive to them, because we know that there's that relationship. It just doesn't. It's just so ripe with opportunity. I think that I'm glad you've embraced that. I'm glad to hear that. I think they're going to get a big boost from that. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely.
On a separate note, out in the field, I get a lot of questions from neighborhood council board members and community members about small business and economic development. What role does the Office of Finance have in that arena?
Well, most of our businesses, we've got 500,000, nearly 500,000 registered businesses or people conducting business in and around the city of Los Angeles, and the majority of them are small business. And recognizing that, we want to help them grow. It's a win-win for us, of course. If we foster the growth and success of small businesses, one day they are contributing even more to LA's economy, and indeed contributing directly to finances, revenues. And that in turn is returned to them. So it's a win. So what we have done from the get-go, recognize that we didn't have as much connectivity with our business partners as I would like to see. So when I came in, I first created what's known as what we've called the Business Experience Unit. And they're specifically tasked with proactively reaching out to the various communities, digging into different industries, backgrounds, and tailoring our outreach to the various industries, whether it's Spanish-speaking or shared economy. We are tailoring our communications, our outreach to meet their needs. In addition, we have launched a series of partnerships with our business community. One of the most exciting ones to me was what we titled Grow With. It was a business forum for women who wanted to start a business, women who would want to be inspired to expand their business. And it was a very exciting event that we held last October, packed the council chambers. It was kind of like a Congress of Neighborhoods kind of turnout.
You're
It was
stealing
fantastic.
our ideas that you're doing? Yeah.
Yes.
We try to use this space, and that's amazing that you guys are able to use that too, because I think it's a great opportunity. Bring the people in,
And-
show them their home.
Yeah, and in fact, it was inspiring to me, but I was most touched when, after the event, we were approached by women who have never stepped foot in city council chambers,
Exactly.
never come to City Hall, and they told me, I was inspired tonight, and that was a key. We had exciting, interesting panelists that had the experience of starting and growing their business, entrepreneurs that wanted to partner with us, as well as a panel that taught people how to do business with the city, how to become a vendor with the city. So it's kind of a matchmaking, inspiring event.
That sounds great.
We've also partnered with our Public Works Department on matchmaking of construction subcontractors and contractors.
Right.
We've put together how-to manuals for them that's electronically available online. And all of this follows the what I like to term the inheritance of a marvelous innovation that the Mayor's Office of Innovation created over a year ago. And we became I became the foster mother of the Los Angeles Business Portal. In all seriousness, we're very proud of this portal, which is a means for someone who wants to start a business to readily go online, business.lacity.org, and get a how-to checklist for starting their business, not only for becoming compliant with the city, but what to do with the county, what to do with the state. It's a resource guide customized for anyone who wants to start a business or who's even thinking about starting a business. That was just the beginning, and we now convene a business advisory group of our partners around the city, and we are making big plans for the expansion of the portal in the future. So we're going to make it even easier for people to do business within the city of Los Angeles and to do business directly with the Office of Finance as well.
That sounds great. So you mentioned we have over 500,000 businesses in the city of LA. What kind of useful information can your office tell us about those businesses, and what do they say about our neighborhoods?
Wow, we have so much data that we could sit here for another hour and talk about.
You are the numbers department. You have all the numbers.
We are the numbers department, and though while we do and must keep taxpayer information, individuals' information confidential, our data does tell us a lot about the makeup of our business, and also to your earlier question about our economy. I can tell you, for example, that taxable gross receipts, that's a reportable income by all businesses that are reporting to the city of Los Angeles, have grown $55 billion since 2010 alone.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a staggering amount, right? So while not, what else can I tell you? I think interesting tidbits your listeners might appreciate hearing. That the number one category of business owners in the city is lessors of property, landlords of one sort or another.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially our neighborhood council board members, they're by definition, a lot of them are property owners, they're renters, landowners. So I think they do know that, they have that sense. But is there anything at the neighborhood level that we can, start to figure out that maybe finance can provide to our neighborhood councils to see? All right, well, what can we learn about our neighborhood? What can we learn maybe in terms of strengths or deficits that they can use to actually help enhance their community?
Well, as I said, we've got the data and we're here to help. So you contact us. Our business experience unit is at the ready. We can tailor make reports and information. We've even done mapping and can share, how many registered restaurants are in your community, how many cannabis entities are
we'll get
legally
to that later.
operating.
You're jumping the gun.
I
Okay,
apologize, but nobody can get through a conversation these days without that topic.
Certainly not at finance.
But I mean, things that are interesting to me when I looked at the since we came out of the Great Recession, so pinpointing 2010 in particular, that we've had a net growth of 5,500 new restaurants. That's a big number of net growth, because we know restaurants open and come and go in Los Angeles.
Right.
But that is quite a growth.
Isn't that the one statistic that everyone wants to throw out there? A restaurant, on average, closes within a year or whatever. The average restaurant, I should say.
Well, we all eat, right?
That's right.
Retailers, too. I thought I was actually... It might sound a little surprising that the growth of retailers of one sort or another have grown, I think, a net of 21,000 in that same period of time. And what we hear about the Amazons of the world.
Sales, yeah.
I know how much online shopping I do. That retail is still going strong. And in fact, we've had 34 new auto dealers. That falls under the retail category in the same amount of time.
So brick and mortar is alive
it's
and
still alive.
as much as we say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. One thing we know about neighborhood councils, they can provide this neighborhood level perspective. That's what our board members really offer. That's really their top service, I would say. Are there any plans to go out in the neighborhood councils to actually find out what kinds of information they want to see in the business, in terms of businesses in their communities, things like that?
So you mean you haven't seen us out in your community? We actually are in your community.
Guys, you haven't seen Office. Do you have jerseys? Do you have like...
We do. We have polo shirts.
Okay, polos. We do too, but we don't wear them often enough, so people know.
Well, next time we'll wear them for you.
All right. That's all we'll know.
In all seriousness, we participate and would like to participate more. We've been at your neighborhood of Congress of Neighborhoods. Which way around is it?
That is correct.
The large, fabulous event annually. We've also been out at some of your neighborhood council meetings, and what we'd like to do, what we've expanded doing, is actually talking to people about becoming more compliant. We don't.
Right.
So not a lot of people invite the tax collector to their neighborhood council meetings, and so we have been conducting outreach, and we'll be doing more and more of this. That says how we can help you, how we can make it easier for you to spend, the business people, spend less time focused on engaging with the city of Los Angeles and more time conducting your business.
Right.
We aren't, to your question, as involved in recruiting new business, but certainly we would like to share the data of what is in and around. And uh, we would welcome the opportunity for our neighborhood council friends to take our surveys that we've started doing, customer service surveys, and surveys as to what they'd like to see finance doing more of, where we expand our online services and the like.
From our perspective, we go out there as these neighborhood council advocates. A lot of our boards have business representatives. There are only really a few communities that don't have much business activity. But they often have a lot of thoughts. Is there any thought to possibly formalizing something where they can provide insights to the Office of Finance about business or any ventures in their community? Is there any way to get them more involved, to kind of use that energy that they have?
Sure, sounds like a great idea. I personally have partnered in prior capacities with treasurers of neighborhood councils, and so it makes perfect sense to partner with the business representatives. I see a forum in our future, perhaps.
Another grow with type, maybe. Okay, we'll see. Put it out.
Neighbor
put it
with.
out there. Okay, there you go. Neighbor with. One issue that, and you mentioned it before, has been at the top of mind a lot of neighborhood councils is the legalization of cannabis. And a lot of people don't know this, so this is probably going to be a revelation to them. But what role does the Office of Finance play in that arena?
Quite a big one, and it's an ever-growing one. You're right, Brett. I'm certain a lot of people, I don't even know if I knew back when medical marijuana, as it was then called, was legalized. I don't know that I realized that the city of LA was collecting tax, but we have been collecting taxes for years on medical marijuana, and now that adult use cannabis is legalized, we are the tax collectors for that as well. We have been a close working partner with the brand new Department of Cannabis Regulation. In fact, I would not hesitate to say we have been by their side, helping them get going. That is a very small, very powerful, but a very mighty but small department, and we have been working with them to actually issue the temporary approvals that were given to the first near 150 legal cannabis entities this year. So it's a whole new world, and remains to be seen how quickly it expands, but we're there by their side too.
I think even that number, that 150 number that you threw out, would surprise some people. I mean, I'm a representative in South LA, so there has been an over concentration, but now you all have provided, just a little plug for you, this great service of having that map with the Department of Cannabis Regulation showing, so who's compliant, who's really on the book. So thank you for that. I've directed all my board members to it, so I hope they use it and kind of really are able to have a better understanding of what their community looks like here. So one of the implicit promises of cannabis is that it's going to be this boon to our coffers. That's going to be able to provide all this money that was on the black market, bring it into the city. When will we have that information? When will we know a little bit more about what it's done for our finances?
Certainly. We'll know a lot more come July of this year.
Okay.
The new cannabis ordinance adopted by the city council sort of shifted the payment timing of the payment to a quarterly basis for this year, starting July 1st. And then from there on, it'll go to next fiscal year. They'll be paying on a monthly basis. So we'll have constant updates, and we'll know the 1st of July, they've got 30 days to pay for their business related to January 1st, 2018 forward. So we'll have a good idea come this summer, and certainly a year from now, we'll see how many more have received their licenses to operate. So it's only going to grow, we're certain, but we don't know to what degree.
Well, it's good to hear. It's good to hear that we're going to get this kind of, again, more information from the Office of Finance. But I know there's just so much curiosity about it, so I'm glad it's going to be there. Cannabis is one of these examples of things that have been operating outside the city's formal structure, in the black market. But, I think you mentioned earlier, there are lots of businesses that operate outside that, and we don't get those revenue from those businesses. But what is finance doing to ensure that the revenues that the people are paying their fair share? These businesses that are operating outside that, is there anything? You talked about the tax collection. You have your agents that are going around and compliance officers. Is that the main function there, or main service?
Actually, that's just one way. We are heavily into the use of data analytics that tell us a lot, that steer our guide our teams in when they go out, to guide our auditors, and that is our secret weapon, if you will.
Proprietary blend.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned before, when it comes to cannabis, highlighting those that are legal is the map that we developed that highlights the legal entities only. We know people are fascinated with this topic, so they're coming to our site. They're coming to Department of Cannabis Regulations site, and they're looking it up. The field enforcement and discovery through data, shall we say. Another source of going back to your previous question, I should add, part of the ordinance for cannabis requires every entity that is licensed to subject themselves to an audit by the Office of Finance. And so of our first round, the 150-ish number of entities that were holders of business tax certificates in 2017, we audited 100% of them.
Oh, wow.
The last quarter of 2017. And that identified another $2+ million.
So this wasn't some kind of random sample. They were all audited?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. So
you can expect there will be more frequent audits focused on cannabis going forward. So that'll contribute as well.
That's good to hear. So will finance do anything to, to help street vendors as well in this? Because this is a big area now. We're still going through the process of legalization, that these people are operating outside of the regular business tax process. And now, ideally, many of them are going to be incorporated. Can finance, or can you do anything to help that process?
And just to be clear, we're not talking about cannabis street vendors.
No.
You made that switch pretty quickly.
that is like a 180-degree turn. But I have not seen them. But that is now you're giving people ideas, I think, is what you're doing.
No, I doubt that. No.
Very entrepreneurial people.
Very entrepreneurial. No, the truth of the matter is, street vendors, it is the desire of the council to legalize and have everyone register. And so we will indeed, we're hatching the plan right now to make it as easy as possible to reach the vendors and to register them easily. Our street vendors will likely qualify for, we want them registered, we want them reporting their income. They'll probably, many of them will qualify for our small business exemption. Right. But remember, and I'll make a plug for finance and for all those small businesses out there, even those who gross under $100,000 are required to register in the city of LA and renew annually. So their renewal period is January and February every year.
Got it.
So we're going to be doing outreach and helping them, customizing an approach to registration for them.
That's good to hear. Are there some tangible things neighborhood councils can do to support the Office of Finance? Where they're trying to improve their communities, their business community, and the city as a whole. What can they do to actually kind of support a little more?
If they could help us spread the word about increased compliance, that is keeping folks out of trouble. My dream would be we don't penalize. We don't make our money by penalizing businesses who otherwise wouldn't even have to pay.
Yeah, you guys don't want to be the bad guy.
We don't want to be the bad guy. We want to alleviate the pain point for business. And so the better educated our entire community is about who pays and who pays and who must register. I think people are fearful. They hear the word tax and they hear the word business owner. And admittedly, it's a little confusing when an independent freelance or artist. I'm not a business. I don't, but they are required to register as well and report and qualify for some mighty good exemptions from paying so long as they register. So the more we can do in that area, the better. And also promoting what we're doing to help business. So spreading the word about our business portal, spreading the word about how our programs are here to connect them to growing their business. You might have heard tell that we'll be partnering with another department in the city with capital, connecting small businesses to capital.
Capital opportunities,
Mhm.
financing, great.
And that kind of brings me to, as finance is growing our partnerships with our other city departments. And I mentioned I've been with the city a very long time, but I don't think I've seen a time when we have been more coordinated, more functioning as one city. How the business related departments are pulling together and sharing information, and we're not operating as separate silo departments. We're all working on the business portal. We're all contributing something towards helping our business grow. We might have different pieces of the business pie, if you will, but we're all working together for the cause. So bringing the neighborhood councils in to help us in that effort is another win-win.
You hear that, neighborhood council people? There are all kinds of tools to help you promote your businesses in your community. We're talking about increasing revenue. That's going to help us as residents. So definitely help. I hope they hear that message. So thank you for that. Last couple questions. So we're here at the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. You've been with the city for a few decades now. What does empowerment mean to you? What does that word, conjure up in your head?
Well, there's a reason the word power is embedded in that word, I'm sure.
Right there in the middle.
Empowerment is having more than just a voice. I think people think of empowerment as, getting to be spokespeople. And I think that's important, that you have a voice. But empowerment is when you know you are being listened to. And I also think there's an element of trust. When you're empowered, and like I myself feel empowered by the mayor and the city council to do my job, to carry out my duties as I swore to do. I think neighborhood councils are trusted by those that elect them into office, but also by our elected leaders.
Right.
There's a trust, a two-way trust. So I think that's a really critical, because I hear others kind of use the word empowerment because they kind of stand on the mountain, can express themselves and their feeling, and it's so much more. And I feel neighborhood councils are truly empowered to participate because there's trust there. There's a belief that there's a genuine value in contributing in the city process. So
absolutely,
it's real and it's genuine.
Absolutely agree with that sentiment. All right, before we go, did you have any final thoughts? We've already plugged a lot of things, but is there anything else that maybe we missed?
There's a couple more things I'd like to plug. Thank you, Brett. One, we want you to join our Twitter account. So follow us at City of LA Finance. That's at City of LA Finance. Also, check out our new website, launched just about a month ago at finance.lacity.org. You'll be amazed at the tools that you'll find there to help your business and to help you understand more about what we do in finance. You'll find business tools, tax compliance lesson plans for self-help, so you will not have to come into our City Hall offices or wait a while on the phone to get your questions answered. Check it out for yourself. And finally, never miss a deadline again, because you're going to see on our website our finance calendar. That's going to be a great asset to all of you, and we wish you well in your business endeavors.
Thank you so much, Claire, for taking the time. I think there's a lot of useful information in there, so I'm glad we got it out to the people. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the EmpowerLA podcast. As always, you can learn more about the Neighborhood Council system at EmpowerLA.org, where you can find information about all the neighborhood councils that make the city of LA a better place. You can also check out our show notes for the episode if you want to learn a bit more about the topics and people we discussed. The EmpowerLA podcast is available in a variety of formats for all your listening needs. If you are so inclined, please leave us a review so we can get the word out about neighborhood councils. Thank you so much for your support.